I am not a church.
When asked about the allegations that RFK Jr. sexually assaulted his then 23-year-old babysitter, his answer,
I am not a church boy. I am not running like that. I had a very, very rambunctious youth. I said in my announcement speech that I have so many skeletons in my closet that if they could all vote, I could run for king of the world. Mm-hmm. So, this Vanity Fair is recycling 30-year-old stories, and I'm not, going to comment on the details of any of them, but.
Give me the full interview real quick. I don't believe that this was his response to that specific question. There's no shot.
I am who I am.
You're talking there about the nanny situation. I mean, I do have to ask, sir. I mean, are you denying it or not?
I'm not going to comment on it.
All right. Well, I gave you the opportunity.
On a whitewater trip many years ago on the Fu River, they say there's an expert. They have an expert that has identified that as a dog carcass.
Yeah,
it's just not true. So, and in terms of the other allegations, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy. I'm
going to give you a chance of running on short time.
I think it's $47,000, maybe $43,000 per donor. So it allows us now to go back to our donors and our maximum donors and tell them that that there's a new maximum. And so I think our fundraising is gonna be fine.
All right. Last question for you, sir, because I know that you're running on short time. Vanity Fair came out with a major profile today. I want to give you a chance to respond to this. There's a photo circulating, I believe, of you posing with what looks like a dog, and also a barbecue dog. I'm not going to show the picture as a dog lover. I know you have pets yourself, and also a sexual assault allegation from one of your former nannies. So I want to give you a chance to respond to
that. Yeah. Sorry. The article is a lot of garbage. The picture that they said is of me eating a dog. It's actually me eating a goat in Patagonia on a whitewater trip many years ago on the Fu River. They say there's an expert. They have an expert that has identified that as a dog carcass.
Yeah,
it's just not true. So, and in terms of the other allegations, I've said this from the beginning. I am not a church boy.
Oh my God! It was actually the worst answer possible. He did answer it. He was presented with two allegations: a photo of you eating a dog, and a claim that you sexually assaulted somebody. And his response was to specifically reject the dog eating allegation and then to hand wave the other one. Wait, why would you do that? Jesus Christ. He should have just given this response to all of the allegations instead of rejecting now I think he did rape somebody. Why would you do that? Why would you explicitly reject one and then just leave the other one hanging there?
I am not running like that. I had a very, very rambunctious youth. I said in my announcement speech that I have so many skeletons in my closet that if they could all vote, I could run for king of the world. Mm-hmm. So this Vanity Fair is recycling 30-year-old stories, and I'm not going to comment on the details of any of them, but I am who I am.
You're talking there about the nannies.
I am who I am. I mean, 30 years ago when he was 22. Personally, I don't even listen. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Well, I mean, if he full on raped somebody, I would give a fuck. That's pretty bad. But to just say that I'm a wild boy, I am who I am, I'm unapologetically me, and sometimes that just might be a rapist. That's a wild statement to make. Christ. Click on the picture of the dog eating? No, I don't need that shit. Okay. Thread explaining. Do I want to read this Noah Smith thing? Thread explaining. For everything partisan coded, 80% of people will lie through their teeth to serve their tribe's goals, so it'll be hard to find an impartial summary of today's presidential immunity SCOTUS opinion. But I don't have a tribe, so here's my just the facts. Okay, I want to do this. Remember, this month we're being boring, so lots of reading, and I'm being better on my note taking. Hopefully, in the hopes that we can do better videos. So my goal after we finish reading the decision, I'd like to be able to do a video on it where I summarize the decision. I give good questions to ask for people that disagree with me, force them to answer these questions. Commentary on opposing points of view. I'd also like to include 3 different points of view that I want to address that I disagree with. So it'll be this. It'll be the Ben Shapiro video. Are you doing scripted content? No, it won't be scripted, but I'll just like talk through it in a more, because right now it feels like the only way to get like my opinion on any of this shit is like, oh, go watch this 8-hour stream on the Supreme Court thing, basically. Yeah. Wait, did he change the title of this?
It was Justice Roberts who saved Obama.
SCOTUS makes a decision and the left goes insane. Okay. Executive immunity has always been a thing. The underlying rationale is that presidents cannot be encumbered in carrying out their necessary official duties with fear they will be sued. Executive immunity has always been a thing. Excuse me, what? But immunity from what? Clearly, it hasn't always been a thing. If in Nixon v. Fitzgerald, the court had to grant it, and criminal immunity obviously hasn't been a thing if it was granted in this recent case right now. So I don't believe this is true. I don't know what he's sourcing to here. In terms of official acts, the president may act 1 with constitutional powers reserved, powers shared between or delegated by 3 neither. Presidential immunity is strongest category 1, non-existent. Okay, who is this guy a lawyer? It's not strongest in category 1. It's absolute in category 1. What does this guy do? Attorney, programmer, student of life. Okay. He's just wrong here. I don't know if he didn't read or... Well, I guess if I'm being very technical, it is the strongest in 1 and the weakest in 3, or non-existent in 3. If by strongest you mean that's when it's absolute and unquestionable. That is the strongest thing, I guess, technically, I guess. Presidents have total immunity. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. He says it in the next thing. Okay. Okay, so it is, never mind. He is correct. It's just a strange way to phrase that. Presidents have total immunity in category 1. Otherwise, it would give Congress and the judiciary power over the executive in an area where it is supposed to have exclusive power. This opinion focuses on category 2, where Congress delegates or shares power with the president. The other axis relevant here is whether proceedings are civil or criminal. The president's official acts, which encompass both categories, are absolutely immune from civil money damages lawsuits. Well, from all civil lawsuits, right? In terms of criminal law, though, we have far less clarity. We have no clarity. SCOTUS today laid out the tension. The president needs to be able to act within the scope of the office. SCOTUS said today, taking into account these competing considerations, what is presumptive immunity? It's a presumption that a president is immune from criminal prosecution for official acts. But that presumption can be rebutted with a showing that prosecution wouldn't violate separation of powers. Wait, is it true that it wouldn't violate the separation of powers, or if you can show that it wouldn't encumber the executive to act? I don't believe this is true. I'll do a more formal go over this tomorrow, but I think this part is not actually correct. But SCOTUS today said, well, or maybe what he's saying here is another interpretation of what I'm saying, but SCOTUS today said the president has at least presumptive immunity. The majority said whether immunity here is presumptive or absolute is not a question that needs to be resolved today. In essence, today's decision kicks that can down the road. Up until now, I've only talked about SCOTUS opining on presidential immunity generally. What does that mean for Trump's case specifically? Well, this may seem strange, but nothing really? What? The key question for Trump's case is whether Trump's conduct around January 6th was official conduct. SCOTUS says the lower courts haven't adequately addressed that, and SCOTUS can't address the questions on its own initiative. It can only review lower court findings. And so SCOTUS goes on to analyze the alleged conduct to assess whether and what conduct qualifies as official conduct, but with the caveat that it can't do so comprehensively because it doesn't have a comprehensive record. SCOTUS addresses Trump's alleged conduct in 4 buckets: challenging election results in court, leaning on VP Pence to thwart certification, leaning on state officials and private parties to change state election results, and Trump's speech on and around January 6th. Bucket 1, SCOTUS says this conduct is absolute immunity. The executive is given sole authority to investigate and bring cases. If you could get around this by saying the cases were shams, every challenge to presidential judgment in bringing cases would claim as much. I don't like the way that he's summarizing number 1. I would full stop disagree with this. SCOTUS addresses Trump's alleged conduct in 4 buckets. 1 is challenging election results in court. That it wasn't about challenging election results. It was about appointing people in the attorney general role. It was about hiring and firing for his office, for his offices that are underneath him. It wasn't about challenging election results in court. The example given by Roberts was the threat to fire the attorney general if he didn't basically push a sham investigation through. So I disagree with the example given here. SCOTUS says his conduct has absolute immunity. The executive is given sole authority to investigate and bring cases. If you could get around this by saying the cases were shams, every challenge to presidential judgment in bringing cases would claim as much. This doesn't even make sense. The executive is given sole authority to investigate and bring cases. I don't even know what he's talking about here. I don't know where he got any of this from. I'm not sure what this, I don't know what any of this means or where any of this comes from. Bucket 1, SCOTUS says this conduct has absolute, okay. Bucket 2, SCOTUS says VP presiding over certification is generally not executive function, but some VP presiding over Senate may be. SCOTUS instructed lower court to determine whether prosecution of these grounds would intrude on executive function. Says VP presiding over certification is generally not an executive function, but some VP acts presiding over Senate may. That's not really what he said, what Roberts said there either. Roberts said that Roberts was talking about President Trump talking to Vice President Pence about the proceedings. Bucket 3, SCOTUS says president doesn't have authority over states' elections. They suggest find me 10,000 votes and plots to replace state electors aren't immune, but they admonish the lower court for not giving them a full record to assess other conduct in this bucket. What? No? What? I don't think they admonish it. They remand it back to the court to do a factual finding to address which acts of Trump were official or not official. I don't think they admonish the lower court for that. This wasn't even a question that they would have known they would have had to address. Bucket 4, SCOTUS says some presidential speech is squarely official conduct. Other presidential speech isn't, and it's a very fact-specific inquiry, and so the lower court needs to do the fact-finding to determine precisely for each of the things Trump was alleged to have said. In sum, presidents are absolutely immune when investigating and bringing cases. Presidential immunity is shaky at best. It was about hiring. I don't know where I don't even know if Roberts ever even says investigating and bringing cases. It was about hiring and firing for the attorney general. Next, SCOTUS makes clear that if the court determines he has immunity for a given act, he cannot face criminal prosecution for the act. They also add that acts cannot be considered by the jury when prosecuting the president for other non-official acts. Finally, SCOTUS considers and rejects Trump's far broader argument for immunity. Trump's team argued that he can't be prosecuted for anything unless he is first impeached and removed for it. SCOTUS has no textual support for this argument. That his Senate commentators all over social media are decrying this decision and saying that this decision would allow the president to assassinate his political opponents using SEAL Team 6. There's absolutely no support in the majority opinions for this. You're just wrong. SCOTUS could and likely will rule further on immunity, but I don't know. I don't know if he like chat GPT'd the ruling and then gave his summary based on that. Because when did the ruling come out? Is this Twitter thread like an hour or two after the ruling was made? I don't know. Okay, whatever. Okay, I'll see you tonight. Peace.